This is Radio
You're on here. Okay, so we're on here now. So go to your Facebook. Do what I said right before.
Okay. Also,
and then basically all you got to do is just share it. Thank you very much. We're live on Facebook right now, but we're not on the air just yet. Until I put the 2 mics up.
Oh, this thing here?
Yeah, you just share to your feed.
Barclaypen, sold code 201188, account number 50877735, website
awtuk.com. You can just
Wasim the Tabar,
there you go. So you share now, and that's it. Post it to your link. And then go to share again, copy link and put it into the WhatsApp chats. You can just say oh, live with Zoe right now, ZoShow or something.
Is 32 Alam Rock Road, telephone number 07846428.
No, we'll have people watching. No, that's on the Facebook feed. We've got 4 people watching already. So people are watching us right now.
Bringing communities together through interfaith and social cohesion specialist shows.
Just tell me when you're ready, and then so I'll just say hello to guys on Facebook. We're not live just yet on the air. We're just still going through a few technical things, but don't worry, we're not like live on the air just yet. You've shared it to
all done.
Yes, all done.
Perfect.
Right, okay. So ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, right. So let's just check out 4 people watching. Commercial finishes. Got 6 people on Facebook already. I think we'll just go. Hello guys and welcome to the ZoShow. It's 8 o'clock on Radio Aapki Awaaz. We are so thrilled that you are tuning in right now. So welcome if you're watching on Facebook, if you're listening on the airwaves, if you're on the website, welcome. And please do say hello. Please let us know that you're here. We've got 6 people watching on Facebook right now. We've got somebody saying hi already. Hi Zo, hi Arfan from Pfizer. There we go. Thank you very much. Already we've got somebody tuning in. So guys, this is the Community and Wellbeing show that I host every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Apart from last Wednesday where I had something already planned, so I couldn't do that. But otherwise, I have been gracing your screens and also your airwaves for the last roughly about sort of few months now. There we go, a few months. And every week I tend to have a guest that speaks about community, well-being, something inspirational, something educational, and hopefully we have that same topic again. But it's quite rare that when I have done these shows, that I have somebody who I share my daily routine with, and actually I have somebody who I work with as well, which is quite interesting, but we'll get onto that topic in a little while. But what's interesting is that when you network and when you connect with so many people, you end up then learning about people, you end up learning about what they've done and what they've been through. So just a quick reminder again, guys, if you are tuning in, we've got 9 people watching live on Facebook at the moment. I'm sure we've got many more listening on the website and off various apps that we're on. So please do say hello. Please let us know that you're here. Do not be shy. But a lot of people asked me for tonight's link and interest in tonight's episode, particularly from work as well. So do let us know that you are watching. Now, guys, it's interesting when you get to know people and you also start learning about what they've been through, what they've done, their experiences, you know, kind of like you hear some amazing stories, and I think we are gonna have that tonight. But first of all, without further ado, I'm just going to allow my guest to introduce himself. So, Assalamu alaikum, Arfan Usman.
Hi, wa alaikum salam. So, great to be here. Great to be on the ZoShow. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, finally great to be here. So, hello to all the viewers as well. Everybody tuning in, thank you. And yeah, hello.
There we go. Honestly, and I've been asking Arfan to come on for a while now. It's not just because we work together, or whatever. We do work together, and I probably annoy the hell out of him every day. You can say all that now. We're off the clock, and we can say what we want. No, but I said it's we met probably about a couple of years ago.
Yes,
Something like that through Cameron, who
Correct.
people know that I'm associated with Cameron from Motorserve, and other people watching this might have either heard about him or we've got a lot of mutual connections between us. But tell us first of all what you do. So yeah.
So currently I am the branch manager at Motorserve UK, predominantly dealing with the sales side of the business. So we have a premium main dealer alternative set up in Solihull, which is we provide a service for automotive vehicles such as MOT, servicing, general servicing and repairs, maintenance, as well as fast fit replacement. So you got your suspension, your brake replacement, tires, wheel alignment, that kind of thing. We also have a sales centre as well, all in-house. So we do sell cars such as retail, part exchange, and sale or return. So many services we offer. And then yourself offering a fantastic, it's taken us to the next level on our marketing side and graphic design, etc., which is awesome. I've seen firsthand.
Yeah.
Some of the work you do as well.
Paid
It's
him
great.
good money to say all that. Do you know what I mean? So I slipped him quite a few notes, which you couldn't see on
just
off
being honest.
air. So before I went live, as I said. So I'm really glad that he
I'll give you the change later.
obliged, to say that. But no, as I said, I should know all that already, but obviously, and I should know it, but. But you've been there how many years now? I'm not trying to embarrass you in any way,
No,
here,
it's
but
okay.
you've been there.
I've
Kind of been there from the start, haven't you? You've been
That's
there
right.
since.
That's right. I've been there pretty much from the beginning throughout the journey. I came there initially in 2014, which is almost 7 years now. Over 7 years, and it was a month after it opened. So literally when it was all a brand new setup, Cameron obviously before myself had purchased the property. Got the premises and set up everything inside the workshop and all the works that were undertaken. So I literally came in after a month after it was all brand new, and it's just been an incredible journey ever since, really.
Yeah, and that's the word. I'm glad that Arfan alluded to that. The word is journey here, which is a big one. We often discuss topics around community well-being, and that is predominantly the kind of the focus of this show that I do. But the word journey is an interesting one, and I think you yourself have had an interesting journey, and I think we've all had interesting journeys, or whatever you want to class that as. But there's something about you, Arfan, which I don't think a lot of people I know, and I can't wait to. Look at that! We've got a comment already from Nadeem Mohammed. There we go. We both know well, don't we? Zoe, bring some chocolates tomorrow, and. Yeah, okay, well, I think, all right, well, based on today's events, Nad, I'm not sure.
I think you've had enough now.
There we go. Arfan said it before I said it. But yeah, so you've got an interesting story, and I think a lot of people would be delighted to hear it, whether or not you know it already or I know it already. But there is a story that Arfan has, which is, as I mentioned, journeys and experiences and what people go through is so key to what we do in life and how it shapes, what we do after that. So let me just set it up slightly. I was going to set it up slightly, and then I'll let Arfan build on it from there. So I think when we're younger, we experiment different. We experiment in different fields, or let's say when you're younger, you have ambitions, you have plans, and you also you want to almost there you go. Ahmed Timur is saying shout out the workshop boys. So there you go. Everyone from Motorserve is jumping on this now, which is fantastic. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. As I said, do keep the comments and questions coming in as we go along, by the way. So don't worry about that. But what I want to say was that when you're younger, you tend to you have an idea of maybe what you want to do. You're not sure, then you try different things, and then you fall into different projects or things that you get involved in. But you got involved in something which I really don't think a lot of people can say they've done. And if anyone remembers a film called Road to Guantanamo Bay, that is a big feature film that you were involved in.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
That's right.
so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So yeah, basically, it was in 2005. Initially, it started off with being present. Well, just a regular college. I was at college at the time, and I met a casting director who was casting for it. I'll go into a bit more detail later, but she was casting around the Midlands. So it's called The Road to Guantanamo, and it was based on a true story on. There's the guys known as the Tipton Three from Tipton that had an experience where they. I'll give more detail later, but they were basically locked up in Guantanamo Bay and they went through an absolutely horrific experience. So at the time, the casting director was casting, went in various colleges around the West Midlands, so looking for similarities because the guys themselves are from Tipton, so the Midlands sort of accent they were sort of looking for. So I literally just met this casting director, and she invited me over, and asked if I would speak to her for a couple of minutes on camera, just general background stuff. And I honestly thought, why not? So I decided to do it, go ahead with it. She spoke to various other people at the colleges, took some contact details down, and after that she contacted me via email with a bit more information to say we are shooting a docudrama. It was funded by Channel 4, directed by Michael Winterbottom, based on the story of these guys. So, and we'll be coming to a hotel in Birmingham City Centre and I'd like to invite you along for an audition. So I thought, why not? I didn't really expect, I just literally went, it was pretty much a go with the flow sort of scenario. I had no expectations, I had no foresight. I just thought, what the hell, just go for it. So I spoke to my college tutor, and I had to finish up early one of the days to go to the audition, and she said, yeah, you can go, that's no problem. And I was quite close to not actually going because she actually said to me, her name was Wendy, she's a really nice lady, casting director of the film, for the film, and she said, catch it, any sort of your travel will reimburse you. So I was looking for a taxi at the time and I couldn't find one. I was literally like huffing and puffing thinking, forget it, I ain't gonna go. But I literally saw one, and then I jumped into the taxi. There was a black cab, I still remember. I went to the hotel and arrived at the venue, and it was between 16 and 20 people, other guys there as well for the audition, including Riz Ahmed, which probably a lot of people know very well. So
Riz Ahmed, who, by the way, is now a seasoned Hollywood actor.
Correct.
He's just featured in, well, not just, but he's featured in Venom, Star Wars, and whatnot. So that must have been amazing. At the time you didn't obviously know.
Well, at the time,
what
Riz
he
was
doing,
just starting off, in his career. He was a bit older. He was older than myself. So Riz had a good background where he went to drama school. He'd been to university, and he had his sort of plan mapped out, if you like, whereas I was literally just fell into it kind of by chance in a sense. So the director was there, Michael Winterbottom, with Wendy, and the co-director was there. So they literally split us up into groups of 4, and we were asked to literally improvise, and it was pretty much natural acting on camera. So we had to reenact pretending to be a prisoner. So we was a prisoner, and they were recording our reaction to another prisoner getting beaten. That's what it was, and then vice versa. And at the end, they spoke to all of us individually on camera, and they asked us to literally come out, speak about any, fascinating life story that you've come across or you've heard of. So literally spoke to them. They spoke to everyone individually. After that, they shortlisted 4 of us, and I was included in that, and they invited us to go to Tipton for a week to spend time with the real guys, with expenses and etc. So yeah, we went. It was 3 of us initially. So it was me, Riz. It was another guy. We went to Tipton. The 4th person that was meant to play one of the characters, he had already starred in a documentary for Channel 4. So one of the Tipton guys arranged to, because he couldn't come initially on that day, so on the evening he arranged a friend of his to pick him up from Manchester. The guy was from Manchester, to bring him over. So he came over. We spent the night. We were just chatting, and they gave us a script. So the lads, before the initial early days of the project, they stayed in an accommodation with the co-director Matthew Whitecross, and spoke about their story. So generally, when they started opening up, then they would speak about it. So daily for I don't know for what sort of number of period of time that it was, but Matt just basically got lots of footage of them, and from that they created a transcript. So the stories that happened in Guantanamo are sort of their storyline, and the guy the guy that was picked up from Manchester the first night. The next morning, he actually had to leave. He had some issues with the family where they weren't happy with some of the things he portrayed in the other previous documentary. So he literally just dropped out the next day. Very next day, it was absolutely crazy. So the roles were kind of changed. So initially, the role that I was going to play I ended up playing one of the lead characters, which was Asif. I'll come to later. So yeah, we stayed in a nutshell in the week. We stayed with them. We got to know them. We went to their local kickboxing class. We went paintballing. We stayed with them, for the number of times, asked questions, and they showed us on their local park, just their sort of upbringing in Tipton, which was quite good. It was quite an amazing experience, and it kind of opened our eyes up, and in the early stages, and following on from that, they shortlisted myself, Riz. There's another guy which Zo knows very well. His name's Waka.
Yeah.
And the fourth person they were deciding on. So initially they invited me again to the mailbox with the director, and Wendy had casted another person she sort of liked, and got us to meet each other and just see how we got on with each other, really. So we just literally were thrown into the sort of moment. Got to know, we were just talking with each other. We got on quite well. His name's Fahad. He's a really nice guy. We're still good friends with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they decided on us four. We were offered a contract. We were told to get our injections. We'd be flying out to Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran to shoot the film. So literally, I didn't tell any family member the initial stages, because I had no sort of, any sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Like any sort of like.
Well, yeah, I just didn't think, anticipate that it would get to this stage, and that,
you had no idea
and
of
I
what
was
to
literally
come.
telling my mum I'm going to Afghanistan, and she was really worried. Like, what do you mean you're going to?
But if you backtrack a little bit, so
Yeah.
you were selected.
Correct.
You were selected, shortlisted to then, to spend time with these people. So at each stage,
Yeah.
how did it feel when they were saying, "Okay, you've been chosen now. Now it's the next phase. Now it's the next phase." Was it like, "Oh yeah, I'll just go with it," or was it like, "Oh, I'm getting
It was
closer and closer to this, this product"? Okay, you don't know it was a production or anything at the time, but
Yeah.
each time you advanced, you must have thought, "Oh, okay." Like, did your confidence go up, or was it just a case of like, "Oh yeah, I'll just go with it"? Like,
It was a bit surreal. I mean, initially, like I said, I didn't anticipate that it would get to that stage, so I didn't really speak about it to anyone. I just, like you said, I went with the experience of it all, and literally when it sunk is when they came and visited at my house and brought the contract with them, and literally said, right, once you've signed the contract, get your.
But did it say anything like Universal Studios or any kind of production
Well, yeah, I mean, it was
company
Revolution
or-
Films, so it's Revolution
Yeah, so-
Films in London.
And that must have got you excited. Like,
Well, yeah,
surely
it
you must
was-
have thought, "Wow!"
It was just like, it didn't
all
really
of a
sink in
sudden,
initially, and obviously when you're flying out, then that's when it starts to sink in. So I literally had to get my injections for travel. They sent us the information with regards to, the mapped out days and what's happening this day and that day, and literally we were flying out, and Michael's filming style is very natural, and it's a lot of improvisation, so which is great.
Ad lib and whatnot.
Correct. Yeah. So it was a lot of it was natural improvisation. So our first destination. We travelled to Karachi.
Mm-hmm.
in Pakistan, and we filmed the scenes where when they initially went to Pakistan, they went to like Clifton Beach and things of that. Just of the lads, they were just chilling out. Really, they were just filming those type of scenes, and yeah, we just went from there. Really.
Yeah, we'll get more into this, but we've had a few comments. So we've had a few of our mutual colleagues contribute. So we've had Richard Gibbs, who I think you both know,
All right,
saying hey. So I think he's clearly pleased to have joined the show. We've got Devon Crosby as well. Good old Devon. Hello, Richard and Devon, for tuning in. Thank you very much. And Rich saying, good film, seen a few times. So there we go. So he's, he's already well aware of what we're discussing. Pfizer is saying, that's incredible. You're on the Wikipedia page for the film. So somebody's already looking at Wikipedia to check if this is a genuine, if this is a genuine aspect, conversation, or a credit in the film, and it is genuine, by the way. So if you have seen it, you probably won't recognize Arfan from there to now. I think it was quite a long time ago. What was it? 15 years.
So it's 2005.
2005.
So
There you
16
go.
years.
16 years ago.
16 years
Wow.
is
It's incredible.
crazy,
Honestly,
incredible.
that's amazing. And it's like, I think what's interesting here is that sort of like, so you didn't know what was going on, and then all of a sudden you're then flying to Pakistan, and then so tell us a little bit about what it was like to work with someone like Riz Ahmed. So obviously now people know who he is, but at the time, what was it like that you're rubbing shoulders with a
Yeah, Riz, in all
like
fairness, was it was the first sort of project that he was involved in. So he was literally just starting off at that time. He was a good guy. He was a really nice guy. He's a funny guy. We got on really well. We had a good group. It was myself, Waqar, Farhad, and Riz.
Shout out to Waqar Siddiqui, by the way.
Shout out to Waqar.
My neighbour since I was born, by the way. So there you go.
Shout out to Waqar and Farhad, top guys. And so it was, Riz was quite a character. He liked to rap and MC, always from then. So we have I've got some videos on my other phone from my older phones where we're just chilling out in the hotel rooms, and Riz is rapping and MCing, and yeah, we had a very good time, really good laughs and good jokes along the way. But yeah, we literally, like you said, we flew out, we were there, we were getting mic'd up. We actually had to get some wigs made because during the sort of film, when they get trapped in Afghanistan, they ended up obviously with long hair and stuff. So we went to a studio in London. We had to get our heads measured, and there was this place where they make all these wigs, and for all the films. At the time, they were also doing some props for Harry Potter.
Wow,
so yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they had all this cling film on a head, and they were measuring everything. And I think the wigs were talking thousands of pounds just to make them. They're literally sewing one hair at. There's a person just sewing a hair at a time. And it was mainly when we were filming in Iran, we would have to go every morning to have the wigs glued in and by the sort of makeup people, and then removed at the end of the day when we come back to the hotel. So yeah, that was quite surreal.
That must have been an experience, like being on a film set or being involved, being involved kind of at that level of preparation or whatever. It must have made you think, wow,
Yeah, the work that goes
crazy.
into it.
Yeah.
It was. We didn't have a huge production team in the sense where we did have our team from here. So we had our director, which was Michael Winterbottom. He had a co-director, Matthew Whitecross, and there was a director of cinematography, which was Marcel, cameraman, Stuart Wilson, who was the sound man, and then we had a producer, which was Andrew Eaton, and then they would have people in the countries we went to where they had their sort of contacts, so people from the government, etc., and production people from there that would organise things and so on and so forth. But we went to some amazing locations. The storyline in a nutshell is there were actually 4 guys all together initially. So the guy I played was Asif Iqbal, who travelled to Pakistan to get married, and afterwards he called his friends from Tipton, which was Ruhel, Shafiq played by Riz, and Usmania, who came up afterwards for the wedding.
Yeah, played by Waka.
Played by Waka, and I was initially meant to play that role, believe it or not. And they travelled to Pakistan. They met Asif. They went to a mosque in Karachi. So in the mosque, they were giving a talk of there's a humanitarian aid group going to Afghanistan, and people should help. People should contribute, come along and join in. The guys were at the time I think 18 or 19, which was how old I was when I started it, and they were quite naive. So they literally kind of thought of it as an adventure at the same time. So they thought, before the wedding, in a sense, from what I gathered from it was, for them, it was not so much as like Birmingham to Leicester, but it's Pakistan, Afghanistan. We're jumping on this bus. We're going to go to Afghanistan. We're going to chill out. We're going to come back. Literally, they had no idea or any concept of what was to follow. I know that for 100%. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone. But they literally just ended up going. But at spur of the moment kind of thing. Nothing was planned. They ended up in Afghanistan. They went with the humanitarian aid group. They helped out. They went to some hospitals and they kind of donated and did various things. They felt ill. That's in the film as well. So they kind of a few of them felt ill on certain times. And unfortunately, the war kicked off with America. So they basically, the fighting began with the Taliban and obviously the American forces along with the Northern Alliance, and they kind of became trapped. So the group that they went with initially, they requested to go back. Basically, we want to go back. But unfortunately, they were taken deeper into the war zone, and they had to end up taking refuge with the Taliban, who they were eventually captured with by the American forces. And initially the Northern Alliance, and then the American forces came in to I think it was Kandahar, Shebagan prison. Obviously, being British, these guys were made out to be the world's most dangerous terrorists, when these were just 4 ordinary guys. And they literally were questioned, interrogated they were put through some absolutely tormenting, horrendous conditions. Even filming it, I couldn't tell you that I still could not imagine being in their position. One of the scenes I had to film was they were getting transferred in containers, and the container that Asif was in was a sealed container, whereas Rule and Shafiq were in a open canvas sort of container where they could breathe. So Asif, because they literally threw hundreds of people in the container, people couldn't breathe. People were screaming, banging on the container, passing out. Asif passed out as well. He had to improvise where he cut some of his shalwar, went to the side of the container, got some condensation just to try and get some moisture, and he was completely dehydrated. He was, literally passed out. Then he got to the Shebagan prison. I missed some of it, but in the chaos, the 4th person, Munir, actually went missing, and they don't know what happened, because when the front line was falling, they had to literally get on a truck. Like, everyone was like, come on, we got to go, the front line's gone, and just keep moving, and just ended up getting captured. And so Munir, to this day, no one actually knows what happened to Munir. Unfortunately, is still unsolved or unknown, basically. But a lot of the, probable scenario, if you like, people are saying, it could have been blown up in one of the bombs, or anything could have happened. So
Waka played his character, so I'll probably be texting Waka or giving him a ring to make sure he's all right. Because I know it's just a film, but Waka, I hope you're okay. But I know it's all fiction anyway. But what's you see, you said, we're going to backtrack a little bit here. Actually, let's bring a comment in first. So, Bill Khan, who thank you for tuning in. Bill Khan saying, what an experience to start in such a movie. Absolutely amazing. Hats off to Arfan. So there you go. So to say, and there you go. You never know what people have done, and as I said, it definitely is an experience, and I think we could I think we could spend the whole show talking about this really, and we will move on to a few other topics. But but you mentioned that your mum was concerned. I'm sure family members or whatever were thinking like, "Oh, what's going on? Where's he going? Like, what's going on?" And considering that there was like political and political affairs and sensitivity around what was going on in the world at the time, did it ever cross your mind think that where you thought, oh, should I be doing this? Should I be subjecting myself to either what's to come or what? Well, it wasn't you getting put through that experience, but at the same time, did you ever feel as if should I really be doing this? Should I be getting involved in anything like this?
I'll be honest, no. It never ever crossed my mind, and I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, my mum it was more of a natural, that when a mother has that for a child anyway, she has that concern anyway, whereas my father, who is like to all of us brothers, is like a best friend, he's like a bro, he's always been great with us, so he understood it pretty much, and then not that he didn't care, but with a mother, she always has that natural concern and
kind of intuition and whatnot.
With like her child, where is he going, people hear the name Afghanistan, and straight away that brings fear to people, and they think of from what the media portrays, you have that concept of bombing and killing and Taliban and so X, Y, and Z and rocket launchers. That's all you see on the news. But I never literally. It was for me. I just feel like it was meant to be for myself. It was fate, and literally I had no hesitation at all. I just literally went for it, and I'm glad I did. I never looked back. I never had any concern or any fear. I was happy to go with it, pretty much no problem.
Was there ever a case of, did you ever think that, with let's say ethnic minorities or Asian people being underrepresented in the media or film or cinema, was there any kind of personal ambition behind that, or was it just a case of did that play a part in it at all? Like you thought?
No, I mean it was because
the main poster, you look at it now, you go on Wikipedia or YouTube or whatever, it's like you've got 3 to 4 like predominantly Asian names or actors, Riz Ahmed obviously being the notable one, but at the same time you go back to it and it's like it was unique for the time. So was it a case of like, well, do you know what, I want to represent Asians more in the mainstream media?
I mean, definitely that played a part in it, I would say. But at the same time, I mean, I was a lot younger. I wasn't as educated, or I was in the early stages of my life, if you like. Whereas a lot of it, I learned as I went along.
Yeah, you developed with it.
And then obviously learned. I didn't know what Guantanamo Bay was. I didn't know of the Tipton 3. I didn't know what they went through. I didn't know what interrogation was. I didn't know what shackles were. Blindfolds and all the things that we were experienced, even on the acting side, was it was all new to me. A lot of it with regards to this war that happened with, because I was very young at the time, and like I said, I wasn't, I was in the early stages. So like you said, I was developing along the way, learning along the way. So I never really looked that far ahead or had that sort of vision at the time. Whereas maybe now I would think of it differently. But literally, I think it was probably good in the sense where I was all new to it and it just came naturally, I guess.
Yeah. And what was the kind of like, let's say like as you started wrapping filming, or then you start then work on the promos, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my god, this is going to be in the cinemas, and people are starting to, then you're going to be in a feature film. What was that like so you're past all the kind of like the casting, you're doing the scenes, you're in them, and then all of a sudden, then when you start to hear, oh, this has got a release date of XYZ, then what was that feeling like?
It was incredible
to know that you're going to be like, oh my god, I'm going to be.
It was incredible. I mean, you do have butterflies. You have a sense of being, an achievement, being proud, and happy of being, being chosen and being part of such a thing and such a project. So, yeah, 100%, man. I felt incredibly proud and happy to have taken part in such an amazing experience. And it was just like I said, it was surreal. It was, it was funded by Channel 4. It was the first docudrama to be released simultaneously because Channel 4 funded it, it had to be shown on Channel 4 first.
Yeah.
And then it was shown simultaneously in cinema.
Right.
It was available for streaming and download after that. So, you know, we went to, along the way, we went, towards the end, we went to the Berlin Film Festival, for example. We went to, you know, we had a red carpet experience there. We were taking a picture in the Hall of Fame. We signed the book. It was surreal. Like I said, when I think about it and look back on it, it's just some of the things, like I said, there's so much to touch on, but that was just one of the highlights. We went to Afghanistan. We actually went to Afghanistan. We traveled to Kabul. And one thing that stands out still in my memory, we went to, so after filming one of the days, we went for a meal to an Italian restaurant. So we sat in the restaurant, we're looking at the menus, etc. And all you see is about 10 soldiers walking with machine guns, literally, and sit down a couple of tables away from us. They park up outside the restaurant in tanks. And because it was the UN, there was a tank from Norway, and I think there was a tank from Sweden. So they're Swedish and Norwegian soldiers, and just walked in like nothing, sat down to eat with their guns. And we were like, what the hell is going on here? You know, it was just madness, stuff like that. We were en route back to our hotel at one point, and we had a politician in the car in front with the director and some of the production team, and then some of us were in the car behind with only a driver. And we were en route back to the hotel, and at the time they were blocking off all the roads and diverting all the traffic because the president at the time was Karzai, was coming through or something of that nature, so they were blocking everything off. And the politician in front obviously got access, showed his ID, got through. But the guy behind, the driver that we were with, he was kind of pointing, saying we're with them, like kind of thing. And it was a Northern Alliance soldier with a machine gun in his hand. And he literally slapped our driver and pointed his gun and said, "You're not going that way," kind of thing. And then eventually, luckily, the guy in front, the government official, saw us and managed to get us through in the end. But just things like that, you know, we you know, things like you were just.
Did it ever intimidate you? Did it ever intimidate you, or did anything, whether it was the filming or whether it was like traveling or going back to these countries, or like was any part of that, like, did it ever make you think, oh my god, like, you know, wow, like, you know, sort of, you know, did anything ever start with you or phase you? Or,
yeah, I mean, there are, you know, there were certain moments where obviously, because it was all new to me, where especially when some of the scenes where I was filming there was some days where it was just myself, so I was you know, because it was all pervasive scenes, so a lot of the days scenes I was filming. So there was one day that comes to mind where we were filming in Infestable, which was Asif's hometown, and at the time it was 50 degrees. It was extremely hot. It was literally sit in the van, AC full blast sort of day. And I had the main scenes from that day with myself, and you know, with the heat and sometimes getting a bit, I did have some nervous moments, but because of the style, it was very natural and improvised, not so much at the same time, where it's not like some of this, there is obviously a script that you're going off, however, you know, it didn't have to be word for word. So a lot of it was natural, or it came natural. And to be fair, I think it looks good in that sort of, in what we were filming, to make it look natural, because you don't want it to be too regimented and scripted, where like a Hollywood film is sometimes, if you know what I mean. So yeah, there were some nervous moments. Obviously, when you come in on the camera for the first time, and you know, you got to try and not look at the camera, and you know, your volume and your speaking and body language and all that kind of thing, and you've just got to stay calm and try.
Did you have help and training with that? And
no, literally, we were thrown in the deep end.
Wow.
One of us, Riz had the only person who went to drama school, and he had more experience, and he obviously had a lot more training compared to us. But we literally were just thrown in the deep end, and just had to go with the flow, kind of thing.
Wow, I think amazing, honestly. Like, you know, we've not. I've done this show for a while now, like, you know, almost, you know, over a year and a half, and not had anybody speak about featuring a film or these kinds of experiences. Guys, if you've got questions for yourself, get them in. If you got a comment, if you got something that you desperately want to ask, or you know, or let's say you haven't seen the film, and then you better go and see it now. I mean, like, you know, please do go and watch it. You know, because like I said, it's you could say really, it's like well, it is based off like. It is based around true events and it's based around current
Absolutely.
affairs.
Yeah, it's literally a true story.
It's,
I mean,
you know, it's so
it opened up my eyes to.
you must have learned so much.
Honestly, it was a massive eye opener. Massive eye opener. I mean, you know, the people that were suffering in this place that still exists till today is incredible. I mean, the things they went through was just literally they are beyond imagination. You know, we had to film, for example, I'll give you an example where when they were transferred to Guantanamo Bay, they were shackled on the plane. Now, shackles are basically, for people who don't know, is the handcuffs with a chain running down to a set of handcuffs that attach to your ankles. So they were literally a black hood placed over their head. They had goggles, earmuffs, so they couldn't see, they couldn't hear. With the shackles, in a line, tied up in a rope with prisoners, and forced along. And let me tell you, I've worn these shackles, and if you go too quick, it literally cuts into your ankles. It is extremely painful. And don't forget that these soldiers weren't being nice, so they were literally dragging them, pushing them along. You had a soldier on each arm, literally hooked onto each arm and pushing you along. So when we had to film some of the interrogation scenes, for example, from the tent, so from your cell to the tent, they would take you and then remove the hood, and then you're literally in front of an interrogator, a soldier, and they were asked, where's Bin Laden? There's a line a lot of people say to me to this day where I was asked where's Bin Laden, and I literally went, I don't know. So,
but it must be funny when let's say you hear stuff on the news now about this, or when the film came out, and like, what was the fallout like? So when it came out, and then obviously then there was stuff in the real world, like related around the film, like, and to this day, do you ever look back and think like, do you ever feel as if like, I not knew how it felt, because it wasn't real, but
correct, yeah.
do you ever think like when you see something related to it in social media, news, someone talks about it or whatever, do you ever think like, oh my god, like I know what they're talking about, Yeah,
100%. I mean, literally when you
must resonate. Like,
it resonates definitely. I mean, like, it sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it now. Like, to go to what the people went through. I mean, if you think about it, with us, and we spoke about this, Riz, me, and Farhad, and I'm sure they'll vouch for it, that we knew that when that scene is cut or when the camera's off, we're gonna get these shackles off. We're gonna go. We're gonna have a cup of tea. We're gonna go back to a nice hotel. We knew, whereas mentally, that this is just film. It's filming, even though it was difficult. Don't get me wrong, but nothing in comparison to what the guys went through. Whereas they didn't know when this was going to end. They went through something that I literally cannot comprehend. That they actually went through that. Isolation, interrogation, torture, waterboarding. They went through some absolutely horrendous things, and I've still got the transcript to this day with their sort of stories, and they're just literally mind-blowing what they went through and some of the things they came across. But like I said, literally, we knew we were going to an hotel, etc. They didn't know when this was going to end. They didn't know if they were going to make it out, if they were going to see their family members again or come back. So that was just the quite frightening thing to think, to be in that position. How would you handle it? How would you deal with it? It's and
it's probably something that's, I'd say, is always going to stay with you. So it's something that you'll always look back on it, but then you'll always be able to relate to it if you ever hear about it, no matter what the platform is or whatever.
100%.
We did have a comment here saying, how did it feel? I think we kind of touched on this, but we can still answer it. How did it feel for Arfan to be playing the main character's role? Is that accurate, or did you answer it?
It was. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with the joint. It was a joint sort of. I was playing one of the lead actors. However, it was the Tipton three. So it was myself. I played Asif Iqbal, who was the guy who went to get married. Riz played Shafiq Rasul, and Farhad played Riz Ahmed. So they were the sort of three sort of very good friends. They still are very good friends to this day. And then Munir obviously was the fourth person, but he was a more sort of quiet, timid sort of character. But these guys were like from childhood were together, and so it was based on those three. We were the three main actors, the lead actors, if you like.
Yeah.
So it was their journey. They literally went to Guantanamo Bay. I was saying earlier on, they were captured by the with the Taliban, transferred by the American forces to Guantanamo Bay, which is in Cuba. And there's two camps there. There's Camp X-Ray and Camp Delta. They were locked up there for 2.5 years. I believe they met Mozambique as well, who's another person from a local brother from the Midlands who went through a very traumatic experience as well, and he's quite a big vocal person behind camp. I think it's Cage Prisoners or something. So he fights a lot for justice and freedom for these guys. And basically, they met him there as well. After 2.5 years, they were released without charge, literally.
Wow.
And that's it. And just
it's just, and it's like, it just, I suppose it shows you, doesn't it, like what people go through, and then the injustice that they suffer, but then they still want to tell their story, they still want to share it, and they still want to, almost like you could say, either inspire people or maybe even educate them in some way.
100%. I think it definitely made them stronger. They will definitely become a lot stronger for that experience. Of course, they want to share the story, and they so much. The fellow prisoners, they're all like a family. They're brothers. So they obviously, the experience that they went through together, for them to be released and then to think of the people that were still there going through it, must have been very difficult.
Yeah.
Even till this day, it must have affected them mentally. When I spoke to the guys, Shaf and Rule, they said when they initially came out, they couldn't sleep in a bed. They had to sleep on the floor. They would wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweats of the soldiers walking around, and they still had, they could feel the shackles were sort of, they've still got scars to this day, I'd imagine, but, mentally, because in Guantanamo Bay, they would wake you up randomly in the middle of the night. And the process is they come into your cell, they put a hood on, they put the mitts on and shackles, and they literally drag you somewhere. Don't know exactly where, but then they've got a dog barking at your face in the middle of the night, literally, and you're right by your face, and then they'll put you in one of the torture rooms, for example, where they've shackled you to the floor. The shackles are chained to the floor. The temperature will either be extremely cold or extremely hot, with loud rock music blasting and a strobe light. So a strobe light is literally that strong. Even if you're closing your eyes, you can see that flashing. Those all sort of, and you're left there for 6 hours. You have to,
withstand it.
Withstand it, and obviously you have to sit in your own feces and your own urine and stuff of that nature, and horrendous conditions. It was unreal. I mean, that torture scene itself, to go through that for 6 hours and then literally just brought back to your cell. So that will mentally scar a person. That's extreme torture, extreme torture to another level.
Yeah. So we've spoken a lot about this. So I think we'll try and lighten the topic a little bit. So when it came out, and then obviously to this day now, do people recognize you? Do people either or when you speak to someone about it? We're talking about it now on on this station, but do you ever you must get asked about it if you mention it to somebody, if someone says, you featured in a film,
a lot of people, not so much, because obviously it was such a long time ago, a lot of it's
when it came out, your family, friends, and other, they must have been like, wow.
It was a lot of people ringing me, a lot of school friends were calling me, how you doing, you okay, man, I just saw that on the film on Channel 4, etc, etc. Initially at the time, obviously, because it was released, when it was released, we were in London, for example. I think it was for some after things, I can't remember exactly, but on a tube, and because it was in the newspaper, because we had a photo shoot for Channel 4 where they filmed, it was a photo shoot for the paper, basically, for the release and everything. So we was on the tube, and people obviously reading at the newspaper and looking at us and recognising us. So that was quite surreal to be recognised. And then obviously some people did recognise us and said, "Oh, I saw you. Were you in the film?" And obviously people like yourself, where you like embarrassing me, where you'll just tell people. So
just tell
that
everybody.
as well. So a lot of people will tell people, "Oh, do you know Arfan was in a film, etc." So
Awesome. Yeah. We did have another question about Asif Iqbal, but we're gonna kindly move on from this topic. So Zafran, you tuned in, by the way. Assalamu alaikum, thanks for tuning in. But we do have to sort of move on from what you just asked there a little bit.
What's his question?
Oh no, you were just asking about the role of Asif, but
Okay.
Because we've discussed it in length,
No
and we've
worries.
only got about another 10 minutes left. So what I was going to allude to here is I was going to move on to. Do you think films like this have paved the way for up and coming British actors? Again, there's Riz Ahmed. There's been like Kunal Nair. There's you have to forgive me here. Everybody. There's a Pakistani actor now who he's just starred in Eternals, the big production. But do you think films like this have helped kind of almost increase credibility and almost pave the way for, like I said, Asian actors in the kind of mainstream media?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a bit of a game changer, and obviously a big eye opener. A lot of people like myself knew nothing about Guantanamo and the experiences these guys went through. But yeah, I would say it was kind of a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough for Riz. Proud of the guy. He's done absolutely amazing. He's never looked back, and he's been very driven and motivated, and he's worked very hard to get to where he is today. At the time, I can't recall now. I don't know, was Slumdog Millionaire after that or before? So Dev Patel was,
around about the same time.
was directed.
Yeah, that's right. Dev
Danny
Patel
Boyle-
from
Danny
Skins
Boyle
and
was
Danny Boyle,
massive
yeah,
director,
yeah.
and that was amazing. That was a big hit.
So it's kind of all around, you could say, like that era, like mid to late 2000s, where things started to pick up for, underrepresented kind of Asian actors or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Riz
Trend
still
started
sort
to
of
build,
rallies
yeah.
for. I've seen some things where he's, rallying for more Asian actors and for more openings, because still there is not as much as it should be, if you like. So yeah, definitely, it has opened a lot of doors for people, and hopefully it will continue to. And people will still, we should be inspired by a story. From Riz's story, for example, it should inspire all of us to that, anything's possible. We can do anything if we put our mind to it. A positive mindset, being driven, being determined, you can achieve anything. You hear amazing stories of, I remember, obviously, even from myself, from my own perspective, I knew very limited about film and the world of film. And obviously after doing the project, it brought my passion and interest into the film industry. So reading up about John Travolta, for example, if you read up about his story, he was rejected numerous auditions, but he's one of the biggest stars in the world, But so these guys, it's not how we sometimes perceive them to have this easy ride and they just came in and became superstars. They went through the nitty gritty and the difficult.
Yeah, they've built resilience and
100% resilient, and all these auditions and rejections and
it's made them who they are.
It makes them who they are.
It's absolutely
That
massive.
experience.
So then, you did that, and then obviously, so now you're living the dream, working at Motorserve.
Yeah, big shout out to Motorserve.
No, but we're joking apart here. So what happened after that? You thought right, okay, it's not quite for me, or you just did that because, like I said, you didn't really have the long-term ambition to be a movie star or get into film. So after that, it was just a case of right, okay, did you want to then take that experience forward and then use it in some other positive way?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Maybe, like I said, at the time I was quite young, and I didn't really have the game plan set out. Whereas if I look back now, yes, I do think maybe I should have done this, and I should have, would have, could have. Does come into it. However, literally, the only thing I can put it down to, my life, literally, the journey took a different path, and I am here where I am today. So
yeah, but it's still been a successful path because
alhamdulillah,
like I said,
no regrets.
No, absolutely, and there shouldn't be, because now you're working for Motorserve, and obviously it's a thriving business, and there's been so many accolades that have come, whatever. So just in the few minutes that we've got left, what's that been like to be part of? So you're part of a major film, and obviously I want to draw parallels here between the experience of working on a film, which obviously kind of you could say created waves in the industry, and then you then join a business from fresh, 6-7 years ago, most has been going now, to have then helped, contribute massively towards the growth of it, So what's that been like?
That's again. See, that's another incredible journey. It gives me a sense of pride and proud to look back and think how far we've come. From when we started, we had two technicians in the workshop. We had a fraction of the cars coming in per day. It was literally a fresh, brand new. Everything had to be set up, and even from the Cam's perspective and the other guys who there's literally I think myself and Cam probably Cam was obviously the main man behind everything, and the driving force. But yeah, it's an incredible journey. You look back with a sense of pride and being proud of going through where we've gone through, and it's just looking back to where we were and where we started from and where we are today. It's just incredible. I mean, how we've grown, how we've gone from strength to strength. Nothing's been easy along the way. You do get difficult times and obstacles and test of character, and we've just rided some storms and gone through it and just never looked back really. Same, hats off, big shout out to Cam, who's supported me, supported the whole team, and always believed in it from day one. Maybe when certain stages people didn't believe in us and doubted us a lot at the time, but we remained positive, we remained resilient, and we've come out stronger, and hopefully we'll still continue to go on to bigger and better things. I hand on heart can say we have one of the best team currently with one of the main man, so as part of that team as well, in place at the moment, and hopefully we'll just go from strength to strength. It's a great atmosphere to be in, a great working environment, and we've got characters from all walks of life, and it's a really nice family environment, and hopefully we'll just keep going from strength to strength and growing.
Many more years to come.
Correct.
So in the final minute that we've got, what's the lasting kind of message for people in terms of so you're talking about your experiences in film. You're part of a hugely successful business now. So, but what's the advice to people in terms of people listening to this thinking like, okay, I'd love to get into media. I'd love to be, I'd love to, sort of follow my passion or dreams, or as cliched as that might sound, but there is a real aspect to it. So, what's your kind of like message to people listening to this?
Yeah, I would say positivity, always keeping a positive mindset. So positivity breeds success. That's one of the great, slogans.
There's the quote for tonight. Every episode always has a quote, and that's the one from Arfan tonight. Just say that again for me.
So positivity, a positive mindset breeds success.
Okay, there we go.
I think my message to everyone out there is believe in yourself. You can achieve absolutely anything you put your mind to. Always have a positive mindset, always keep sabr, and I'm a strong believer in my faith, and I say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, and as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, nothing can come in the way. Alhamdulillah. So positive, stay positive, be driven, determined, and believe in yourself. I mean, you can absolutely, you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. Nothing's going to be easy. Mm-hmm. Nothing's just going to come to you, in a sense. But you've got to work for it. You've got to be driven, and just keep looking forward. Don't look back too much. Stay positive, and follow your dreams. Don't hesitate. If you have a dream, follow it, chase it, and work for it, and hopefully inshallah it'll work out for you.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, isn't that a fantastic note to end on? And guys, as I said, we are at the end now, so if anyone does have any comments that weren't answered, or they didn't get time to get anything in, let us know what you thought of the show. If you've got anything else that you want to say, please do comment either on the page stream or our personal streams as well. If you're listening also via the airwaves as well, or online, as I said, you can reach out to us on the page. And please do, how can people connect with you quickly? If people do want to connect with you and answer and ask anything else.
Yeah, by all means, more than welcome to. You can message on social. Well, we know how powerful social media is nowadays. So you've got Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm not very active on Instagram, unfortunately. I need to get trained up by Zo on that. But yeah, and while I've got you guys, if you need anything for your vehicle, motoring, give us a shout out at MotorServe. We'll be happy to look after you. But yeah, just you can contact me on Facebook or through MotorServe or LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to help or answer anything, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I really appreciate it, and keep following this fantastic show, the ZoShow. It's gonna blow out. It's gonna go to. You're gonna see this on big things.
There we go.
Platforms.
Inshallah.
Thank you for. Sorry, lastly to
no worries.
Ikram and Abki Awaz for hosting me today. Please follow Abki Awaz. They do amazing things, and yeah, you'll see a lot of bigger things to follow.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Arfan. Thank you very much. As I said, we are at the end now. So just a quick thank you again to Arfan as being my wonderful guest tonight. As I said, guys, this show is every Wednesday. So we'll be back next week, but it's going to be a slightly different edition of it. But I'll be sending out some promos and announcements on the page. So do keep following to find out what that is. But this is a good night from me. Allah Hafiz to everybody. And I'll see you next week at 8 p.m. on the ZoShow.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much. Chica.